let's start it.
Ready.
This is Archie.
This is some good humor. I'll have to tell my grandkids about this.
Yeah.
I saw that new Adam Sandler movie.
I'm going to get on that tweets and tell them about that.
Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about that Cary Grant movie. I'm going to tell you about this Adam Sandler movie. Maybe you can go back to that Cary Grant movie.
Good Lord. Yeah, no kidding. All right, here we go.
Four souls will enter. None will emerge.
Oh, hi, Mark.
If you have the balls, tune in for our weekly discussion for movies, and more movies. Movie news and things they watch on their Netflix queue. It's Hanging from the Balcony with Lewis the Professor,
I have literally the smallest muscles a man can have.
Miss Kimberly the Professor,
Shut the fuck up, all of you.
Nathan Betts,
You like that?
and Thomas the Doubter.
How long have you been doing yoga?
You're listening to Hangin' from the Balcony.
And record.
And welcome to Hanging from the Balcony for yet another episode where we will talk about movies and movies and movies and more movies. Yay!
Yay!
I am Lewis the Professor. Hello, and over here is at Nathan L. Betts.
Hi.
He's our producer, and
Here
he
I
will
be.
be helping us with this stuff.
I will do producing things, hopefully.
He will do the producing. And over here is Kimberly, the professor, Miss Professor.
Hi.
Hi, Kimberly. How are
Apparently,
you?
Tommy didn't get the message that we were all wearing black shirts.
Yeah, it's Black Shirt Day.
Black Shirt Day.
Black Shirt Wednesday.
But we did get the message as always to
Doctor
wear our
Who
Doctor Who
shirts.
shirts.
I don't have Doctor Who shirts.
Oh my
I did.
gosh.
I did get a new Anchorman shirt though, but it's in the wash
Oh.
because I got it from a vintage store, and I.
Super.
You better wash
Yeah,
that
you
shit.
want to wash that shit.
Yeah,
And
that's
speaking
good.
of needing a wash, we have to introduce Tommy the Doubter.
That's rude.
Yeah.
You know, based
It
on
is.
the
You should shower because it's rude.
based on the intro, I'd say that Kim is the doubter or the mean person of the group.
That's true.
Probably.
You're the fit one because you say something about yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously.
You care about
That
health and
I've never
fitness.
done
How long
yoga.
have you been doing yoga?
See, you're doubting
Yeah,
that someone would
that's
be
great.
doing yoga. I think that fits.
That's probably my
Thomas,
favorite.
it's good to have you here.
Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
joining us today.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm
So-
glad you're here too, Thomas.
So, Kimberly and Lewis and Nathan each saw a movie this week called A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah, we did, huh?
Yes. Seth MacFarlane's debut as a director and an actual
that's right.
on-screen
Director, writer, producer, star.
Yeah, nailed
Yes.
the whole
That's a lot of
kit
things to
and
do.
the caboodle.
Oh, so yeah, you think? What's
He's
your
he's
review?
pulling a Tommy Wiseau then, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
trying to pull a Tommy
You
Wiseau.
say successful, super thumbs up?
I watched the whole thing, and I'm literally at the point now where I don't think, as a fan of Family Guy and the other things he's done, his first movie, a great success in my opinion. I loved Ted. I thought Ted was really, really well done. While I'm not the biggest fan of Westerns, I'm just a fan of Seth MacFarlane and his style of comedy, and I thought it was good. I liked it. I'm not saying that the character, like Liam Neeson's character, was kind of annoying to me for some reason. I don't know why.
He was kind of one note. I
Yeah.
think that's
One note,
why he's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
the evil bad villain who walks around in black and does like bad things.
Yeah, and he,
Yeah.
you know, he gets portrayed as the bad dude by slapping Charlize Theron around, which doesn't give him much kudos.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to separate that out and just be like, why would you do that? First of all, you shouldn't do that at all in the first place. That's a woman. Second of all, that's Charlize Theron. Stop that.
I'm not sure I agree with part one, but part two, you shouldn't hit Charlize Theron.
Yeah, totally agree.
yeah.
Unless she's not listening.
Right. I mean, if you told her once, then that's one thing. I mean, if you have to tell her a second time,
Guys.
that's terrible.
Cowboys.
No, but that's true. It does it in a lighthearted comedy. It makes it very hard to deal with something that's actually a legitimate problem.
Right.
Like
Right.
like
Well, we see
domestic
him,
abuse doesn't come off as funny.
It's not
ever.
just the domestic abuse, but the first time we see him, it's a very serious situation that's not funny. It's not light. We know he's a bad guy because he's just flat out evil.
Right.
And so that moment in that opening scene with him, we're like,
whoa.
oh, okay, so this is
shit
for
just
real.
shit just got real.
Yeah, and so, yeah.
So-
and then the next time we see him really is, well, soon
Third
after,
act, yeah.
he's
Yeah.
about to rape. And rape isn't something that, even though it doesn't go quite there, it's still, the intention is there.
Right.
And so it makes it very difficult to even smile at something
Right,
like
it's
that.
hard to smirk even in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Close
moments
rape.
that Liam Neeson, while he's great at what he does, and
Sure.
it's kind of rare to see him
Yeah.
as the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's great at what he did. It's hard to like him at all. Like as
He's menacing,
Yeah.
but his character could be better fleshed out.
so. Other than that, what did you think? Other than that, what did you guys think of it? I laughed through the whole thing. Amy loved it. We both came out of it with big smiles and loved the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. For me, it was a little uneven. There were times when I was really laughing, and there were times when I was just listening to this other lady laugh. We had a lady in the theater who loved this movie.
She loved it, and it kind of made
She
you
laughed.
like the movie
It
more.
did. It was actually
for
a
no
good
reason
thing.
other than she was
She
in the theater
was
and was laughing. She was
delighted.
there was
I've
so
never
much
heard-
cackling and
Just
like,
loud, like
so
everything.
when he drunk rode,
When he
Yes.
was
when he
driving
drunk horsed, that was just nonstop
She
laughter.
lost
She was the
it.
only.
She thought it
She's
was the
just
funniest.
going crazy.
And we were all kind of just smiling
yeah,
because she was
'cause
having
it's
such a
amusing.
good time.
It's amusing, but not necessarily fall out of my chair laughing.
Yeah, it was a little uneven. I thought Kim and I talked about this. I
Yeah,
thought the
we
best
kind of
jokes
agreed.
were the ones where they were making comments that we in the 21st century realize are ridiculous.
Right.
But they didn't see it. So like when what's Doogie Howser's real name?
Neil
Neil
Patrick
Harris, when he says, "I can buy her wrapped candies. Can you afford wrapped candies?" Like that made us laugh really hard.
Yeah, that
because
was really good.
Yeah.
that might make sense in the
Then.
19th century, but
Yeah.
now that's the stupidest thing to brag about.
Like that's fancy. That's delicate. I mean, that's like a delicacy. It's like a really, really nice.
But it
thing.
made sense that he would think that
Yeah.
he'd be proud of it. So that
Yeah.
was really funny. On the other hand, there was like the shooting gallery where they had the runaway
The
slaves
Negroes. Jesus.
with the really racist things.
Yeah.
And Seth MacFarlane looks at it and goes, "Really? Are we going to really do that?" And I thought, would he know that that's wrong? Like everyone around him thinks this is just fine, but for whatever reason, his character was like, "Really?"
I think the only way that he can't get in trouble for doing the joke
Sure.
is someone has to acknowledge
Someone
it.
has to know it. But I think there may have been
A better way
a more
to-
clever way without breaking that
Right.
that 19th century.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we
humor.
were talking about what jokes we liked the most and which ones we didn't like as much. And the ones we didn't like as much were when he was kind of, I don't know, hitting us over the head with that 21st century commentary on the Old West.
Yeah.
And so it was so obviously him criticizing the way we used to be. And I just wanted him to kind of be a part of that world and be just as stupid, because my favorite joke was when he was with Charlize Theron and they were talking about the Native Americans, which they called Indians, and she says, "I don't know why they're so mad. We gave them like half the land and then we got half the land. We shared. I mean, they shouldn't be mad about it,
About sharing.
about sharing." You know,
That
and
was
it
a
was
funny
joke. It was a really good
hilarious
joke.
because you're like, really?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
it was great.
So they're both, and they're like, I know,
right?
I know.
Yeah.
My favorite joke was
They
when
both
Liam Neeson comes in and he's like, "I'm gonna kill whoever kissed my wife."
Oh,
and Seth
another
MacFarlane,
great one.
who doesn't realize that the woman he's been kissing is
yes.
Oh,
the wife.
someone's gonna get
someone's gonna get fucked up. Like that was funny to me. I
Yeah.
thought
I thought it was good.
that worked really well. So
Someone's
again,
getting fucked up.
there were lines like that were so funny, and we just would crack up. But there were other places where I felt like the humor wasn't quite there, and like the love story was not a funny love story. They just spent a lot of time talking, and they would laugh at each other's jokes, but I wasn't like laughing along with them.
What about Sarah Silverman and Giovanni Ribisi's weird setup? That was started to get kind of annoying to me. To be honest with you.
That's exactly. At first, I thought it was a really clever thing, but there was a point where I started to feel like it was just the same joke.
It was
over
the
and
same
over.
joke, yeah.
It got
So-
a little
I wish that had been maybe
rubbed
better.
raw, so to speak.
Oh dear! I wish it had been developed a little bit better.
Yeah,
but it's fine. And overall, the movie is good.
Yes, it wasn't.
See it.
It wasn't Ted, but you should see it. Probably should see it in the
isn't
theater.
Ted. It's not Ted.
It's not Ted.
Maybe like dollar theater.
Yeah, if we still had a dollar theater,
Here's-
unfortunately, we don't have that option
Did
anymore.
that go away?
Oh.
That's
don't-
why we can't ever
They,
find it
yeah,
on the
well, they
internet.
weren't ever. Everything that they receive now is all digital, and the all of the projectors up there are on 35 millimeter still.
Really?
So they can't. They have nothing
Wow.
to project because they can't afford to upgrade it.
Well, you
What a
talked.
pisser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
pretty
sucks.
shitty. You talked about not necessarily liking or engaging much or knowing a lot about the Western genre.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually something I thought he did extremely well.
From the
I
little
loved
bit
it.
that I have seen from westerns, it looked just like a great western. Yeah,
cinematography. They filmed in New Mexico,
Beautiful.
even though it was
Mhm.
set in Arizona.
Mhm.
So great camera work, but they had the right fonts.
Mhm.
They had the right music. The music was so good.
Yeah.
It was so Western.
and for
And they
Seth
used-
MacFarlane, you know he's going to nail all of those small
He did.
details.
And,
He
and he used the area though. They filmed a lot of shots outdoors, and they used like on location shots, and it just looked really good. So
It did. A lot of it looked
Western
really good.
Yeah.
genre, I thought that was probably the best part for me, better than I think some of that uneven comedy on my part.
I like the dude that kept on yelling shit too. With the I only like it's one of the dudes that's on a podcast that I listen to. His name's Ralph Garman, but he kept on just shouting, interjecting things into specific scenes. And now that I brought the subject up, I can't remember any of his fucking one-liners. God damn it! But he had just a dude who'd cut away, and it'd be a big group, and he'd be the one standing in front. He's like, "Yeah, I get you." That dude,
Okay.
I really liked all of his little comments. He's just a little.
How was Neil
throwaway.
Patrick Harris?
Brilliant.
His mustache.
Brilliant.
His mustache song was fantastic.
Neil Patrick Harris is just pretty damn good. He actually has a big diarrhea scene, which I don't care
Yeah.
for because I feel like
It's below him.
it's
But
below him. I feel like Neil Patrick Harris is too good for that
But
scene.
that scene was so funny.
He plays it 100%,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, but I almost felt like it was an insult
Poop
to
jokes
his...
and Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah,
No.
I thought
he's
he-
got class.
He's so much
No,
better
you know
than
what
that.
was
But-
funny about the diarrhea scene was him grabbing for the hat.
Right.
That was
the
funny.
part. And that's
Remember he kept
he
trying to grab
kept
and
on
the guy
knocking.
he'd smack his hand
Smack
away.
his-
He'd smack and he kept doing it. Like it just kept happening.
3 or 4 times.
Like
That's funny.
It wasn't the shitting. It was
Yeah, it
just-
was. Yeah, it wasn't the shitting. It was the stealing the people's hat. I'm like, why would you grab someone else's hat and shit into it? So good. Yeah, I
That
loved
was
that
really
scene
funny,
for that
though.
for that
So,
part.
there's
Remember
that.
moment.
yeah, he's fine though. He's good. I
Wait,
mean, he's the
what
villain
did you
in
think
a way.
about the after scenes that came after the credits?
Oh,
Did you
Jesus.
stay?
I did, and I'm trying to remember what happened.
There were
Django?
two
Yes,
scenes,
yes.
Yeah, with
yes.
Jamie Foxx's Django showing up in that story world.
I couldn't understand a goddamn word he
I
said.
don't know what he said either.
He was.
It was just bad.
It was
It was
I
bad.
don't like him.
Nah,
Thank
me
you.
either.
Me too. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
me either.
Mm.
All
I
right.
guess.
I guess.
Yeah, it was good though. I
Those
liked it.
scenes
Go
made
see
me
it.
Uncomfortable. I
Go
was
see
like,
it.
those are weird.
Yeah, it was very odd. Very odd
Cool.
things.
So,
3
before we
stars.
hit more of yours, because you've got
For
a few
me.
more movies,
I do.
Nathan.
I just have a
Is it
couple.
fun?
Yeah.
What you saw something though, Tommy? What did you see this
Yeah,
week?
don't remind me. No, I was in one of those moods where I just wanted to watch. I'm really bad at picking out popcorn movies, apparently, because I just want to kind of turn my brain off and just enjoy the visuals and let not think about anything. And so I watched G.I. Joe Retaliation, the
Ooh.
G.I. Joe 2 movie. And I hated it.
Uh-oh.
There was no redeeming factors.
Maybe you can't turn your brain off.
The characters
it's your
are
fault.
well, maybe, but I was falling asleep almost.
Yeah.
The characters are boring and stale. The plot was predictable and bad, and the action sequences weren't anything special. Like the preview that they advertised over and over again with the ninjas fighting, I was just like, whatever.
What episode of
Whoa.
Hanging from the Balcony did we talk about? Did we talk about G.I. Joe Retaliation, Nathan? Do you remember?
No, I believe it was back in the 40s or 50s. Though we're on episode 70 right now. Is that everybody happening? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
I was
hell?
wondering. I'm like, Yeah, I'm not touching nothing.
I'm not either. That's the thing. I'm not touching
Okay.
G.I. Joe Retaliation is doing this to our entire
Apparently,
system
yeah.
because
No,
we're
it
bringing
was-
it back up and we should really just bury it.
Yeah, and I
still
watched
streaming.
I watched the whole thing. And the first one was a horrible movie, but I actually enjoyed the first one even more.
I liked the first one.
I actually,
Wow.
and I think the reason
You
why
hated it, Lewis.
I was so
right?
mad at the first
Joseph
one.
Gordon-Levitt, I liked him as Cobra before he became Commander,
But
and
Cobra Commander actually looked like Cobra Commander should look
Yeah,
in
he
this
did.
new
and,
one.
and then ninth.
His plan was
well,
to. Didn't they
yeah.
kill Destro at the beginning of this one?
No, they left him in the tank, I think.
I don't
Did they?
know.
Well, but I liked Destro in the first one before he got the stupid mask on the
Eccleston?
Ninth,
Doctor
yeah,
Who?
yeah, Ninth Doctor. So and I actually preferred a lot of the action scenes in the first one as CG and lame as they were. Like, they're both bad movies, but I don't know. This did even less for me.
Okay.
Was there a scene where they went to this guy's house and he pulled out all of his drawers in his
Yeah.
kitchen and had
Yeah,
all
Bruce
these,
Willis. They
all these
obviously
guns
paid
and
him
stuff?
$1 billion to be in the
all I
movie
remember
for
from
10
that
minutes. And yeah, because every cupboard and drawer in his house, he has guns and more guns.
Kind of
I'm so
unbelievable.
tired of Bruce Willis and his hoo-ha, look at me with my
Yeah.
gun bullshit.
Yeah, I'm a tough guy. Look at me, I'm old and tough.
I didn't know
Yeah.
Bruce Willis had a hoo-ha. That's
Yeah,
news
no,
to me.
it's unfortunate because I do like Bruce Willis, but he's just it just seems like
His
people are
last
throwing
few-
money at him.
His
And
last few movies have been just. Think about it: Cop Out, Die Hard 5, G.I. Joe Retaliation. They're all
What
just
about
kinda,
Red 2?
oh, don't forget
Red 2's
2,
okay, but not because of Bruce
Expendables
Willis.
2.
Oh, I haven't seen it
Expendables.
yet.
2. He's in it a
2.
lot more. And actually, the last movie that I've liked him in is just the first Red movie that I can think of.
Yeah, Red. Oh well.
yeah.
Okay, what about
Yeah.
you, Nathan? What else did you see?
I watched Spirited Away on the DVD Netflix
Yay!
queue.
Finally.
What'd you think?
Oh my God! What an amazing little story that one was. Man, I
Did you
just-
watch it alone? Or
No, me and Amy watched it together, but it was the second movie of the night, and I knew she wasn't gonna make it through it. But we still have it, and she's gonna rewatch it before we send it
Oh,
back.
okay.
So, I think we started at like 11:30, maybe even midnight. I was like, "There's no way she's making it through this." But
Yeah.
Right.
I just sat there like this the whole time. I was just enamored with it. It was so beautiful.
It's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
true. That
And
is gorgeous.
I haven't seen a lot of anime, but I've seen enough to be like, all right, a lot of it kind of does tend to start to blend together a little bit, and as far as the way they look or whatever. This one was, for me, I looked at Amy while she was still awake. I was like, this is just so pretty to look at. She's like, it looks like a Japanese movie to me. I'm like, well, okay, well, I guess because you've seen how many other Japanese? Oh, this is your first one. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say Studio Ghibli, the amount of detail
It's
they
so
put in every film.
I love the little
The dust.
the little dust mite guys. Those guys are
They're
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing was great.
And don't you think, like, if you ever had a little girl, or maybe even a little boy,
Mhm.
just a kid, you could show them all the Disney stuff or Shrek or whatever. But don't you think this movie would give them
actually taught them something about
teach
life a
them
little bit?
something? And it's got such a different way of presenting things.
Yeah,
like
and-
it's not safe for her. She's not safe throughout the girl in the movie.
Yeah.
She has to go through some pretty difficult stuff. I mean,
And
her
it's-
parents turned to pigs in like the first 5 minutes. And you're like,
that's
scary.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I kept on thinking about that. I was like, at what age range would you cut this off? Because some kids would watch the first 5 minutes of that and go, "Holy shit!" Of course,
Yeah.
but you know,
But-
they would be terrified by their parents turning into pigs or whatever. But like, I'd like a 10-year-old, easy a 10-year-old, maybe even
Yeah.
even up to like a 7 or 8-year-old easily could digest this. But like, it starts off with. It starts off with like she's scared of everything already. She already wants to go home. She's just
Yeah.
everything
I'd
scares
want to
her.
go home.
Yeah, I would too. But like before they even get to that weird spirit world or whatever, everything scares her. She's clinging to mom and everything. And by the time that movie is done, she's the bravest, smartest little. Just goes out and just
Yeah.
goes and gets it. Yeah,
It's a heartwarming story.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
really-
great.
Yeah.
I love it too. I'm glad that you liked it.
it's really fantastic. Are all the rest of his movies
Yes.
just as good? Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Good.
close. Spirited Away is one of the better ones,
Yeah.
but they're all good.
Watch Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Howl's Moving Castle is coming pretty soon.
That's really good, and I think when my friends, like a handful of them, were watching all of them, they liked Howl's the most.
I want to watch My Neighbor Totoro. I want to see that one.
The
too.
other one too was
which is really good.
with the little girls that are orphans, and they live and they just walk around. What is that?
I don't know.
It's
what
the first one I
saying.
ever saw with you. Speaking of Miyazaki.
Now there was a preview beforehand that I thought was
What's
a
that
preview for Howl's Moving Castle, but it turns out that it was just called Flying Castle. Is it the same? Is it the same director?
Might be. I believe
don't
that's
know.
one of the older. It's one of his older
yeah, it's
movies.
from like the mid to late '90s, I think maybe.
I think it's one of his older movies. I think it is.
Okay.
What I say though is just watch some of those
Yeah.
animated Japanese films because they do things that you just
Yeah.
don't see in
Yeah.
America. You never have seen a movie like Spirited Away.
Yeah, there's
in
no,
America.
there's not a single character.
The creatures.
Yeah.
After you see the first creatures pop up, you're like, you don't know what to expect. These
Yeah.
are all
It's
original.
so different.
yeah, and that the
Our culture just doesn't even conceive of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a just like one little thing as far as special features goes on this disc that I was watching in the what was that slug thing? The
No Face.
No, not the No Face one. The other one that was just really dirty.
Oh, the river.
the
or
dirt-
river
dirt-
spirit.
Yeah, the dirt spirit or
It's a
whatever.
spirit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a river spirit that was dirty by pollution
And
or whatever.
so he said that he came up with that idea because him and some of his friends actually found a bike in a river that they were trying to clean up, and it took them 10 of them. By the last person wrapped the rope around them, and they went and wrapped it a bunch of times around the handle, just like you see in the movie. Wrapped it around the handle. That was the only thing you can see, and they literally stood there for like 4 hours trying to pull this thing out. And it turns out they didn't know what it was. It's just one thing sticking up. Pull the whole thing out. They find out it's a bike or whatever. So that's why that
Wow.
scene or how that scene came about. So
Cool. Well, a fantastic film, and I think we all highly recommend
Yeah.
it. What about your other movies you said you watched?
I just have a quick honorable mention real quick because I've already had plenty of time to chit chat about movies this time, but I did get a chance to watch the True Grit remake.
Oh, yeah?
And I found it to be very charming and interesting, and I have seen the original. And as a side-by-side comparison, obviously, it's just, I mean, first of all, it's the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
And it's just, as far as making sure that all of that beauty and, keeping true to Westerns or whatever, all of their locations they picked was just gorgeous. The little gal that they picked for the lead, she was just,
nailed
oh my
it,
God,
right?
she's so good. I think, and it's hard to say this because I know I'll be crucified for it, but I do think that Rooster Cogburn's 2010 version, Jeff Bridges' version of Rooster Cogburn's might have been better than John Wayne's, I think.
Why would you get crucified for that? Everyone agrees. Nevertheless, let's get a hammer and nails.
Right. No, everybody.
agree.
Oh, I totally
Yeah,
agree.
everybody. I just assumed that everybody loves John Wayne so much that it'd be a terrible thing to say. But
See, now, actually, I read the book before I ever saw any of the movies, and then I loved the book, and then I watched the John Wayne one, and I was like, John Wayne's not Rooster Cogburn, not the way he is in the book. And I
John
was
Wayne's
frustrated.
too.
To John Wayne.
Yeah, he's too all American. He's not a gritty enough.
And
dude.
then I saw Jeff Bridges, and I went, "Yes,
Yeah,
that's what he was
I
in the
believe
book."
that.
And
Yeah.
by the way, I highly, if you like to read one book a year, read True Grit. I think True Grit. Charles Portis wrote True Grit. I think it's one of the best books ever, and he's got another book called Dog of the South, which I think might be my favorite book ever. You've read Dog of the South, Kim?
Yeah, I've read them both.
So, I mean, I've read all of Charles Portis's books, but True Grit and Dog of the South are the ones to
Wasn't
check
True
out.
Grit your movie of the year when that came
Yes,
out?
yes, it was
Yeah.
my favorite movie of the year.
It was
Awesome.
really good. It was. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Coen Brothers movie, honestly. And every time I hear something that they're working on, I'm like, all right, well, I can't wait for that to come out.
Yeah.
Got to go see that.
Fair enough.
And
fair enough.
then
Sorry, real
No, go
quick.
ahead,
But
go ahead.
speaking of the Coen brothers, are you guys catching the TV show Fargo?
Mm-mm.
No.
because it's
God, it's
essentially
so good.
they're helping out with. I mean, they're helping to produce it, right?
They're executive
in some way, yeah.
producers.
So they've got a lot of control of what's going on in this show,
And it's based off that world.
It's in that
in
world.
that world.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Is it that gal?
Good. No.
No, none of the same people.
None of the same characters, but the characters
The
they
cast
have
they
are
did
fucking
get.
awesome.
Yeah, so Martin Freeman actually plays
Watson
someone
from Sherlock Holmes.
from-
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the main guys, and Billy Bob Thornton is a character.
Oh, okay.
Billy Bob Thornton is the main
And Billy Bob
villain.
Thornton's character, he's the scariest dude. He's
It's
not
the
scary
best-
like Hannibal.
It's the best Billy Bob Thornton acting I've ever seen.
He's impressive.
Easily.
Nice.
He's very impressive.
Armageddon
get-
still being his best, probably.
Well, and here's the funny thing.
I liked him in
So
Bandits
disappointing.
myself.
Kimberly's
Bandits
parents.
was fine, but I think his character and his acting is just stellar.
Kimberly's parents are in town right now, staying at our house, and we're talking about TV shows, and they love Fargo too.
Oh, nice.
And like they're a different generation, they have different political views. There's so many reasons why we shouldn't like the same shows, but we all agree that it's a good show. Like all of us
Wow.
are excited to watch it. So I think it's for everybody. I really do.
That's pretty tough to do these days, honestly. It really
It's
is.
the kind of show where you watch it and then you go to fast forward it because it's the end of a major scene and it's done, and you're like, it's done? What do you mean it's done? Like you just can't
you're
wait
always
for the
shocked
story
that it's
to
over
keep going.
it keeps
But
you going.
again, top to bottom, just like Cohen's, it's just really quite brilliant.
Nice.
So
Check it out.
Nice.
aside, but yeah, just to
So do you have any other
I
movies
just have
for us?
just one honorable mention. It's not even worth talking about for very long. I tried to watch the cult classic Heavy Metal.
I'm going to assign that for homework.
Billy Wong.
No, I'm not.
I've seen 55% of it. I could not finish it. I got to the part where they made it to outer space and they crash landed and they're trying to land because he's like, and they just done a whole bunch of space coke or whatever the hell that was, snorting it off the floor or whatever. He's like, I can totally park while I'm stoned, and they just crash. So that's like literally the only thing that made me laugh through the whole movie. And I've watched like an hour and 10 minutes of it. I was like, I can't do any more of this. I turned it off.
So this was a big movie that came out, I'm thinking in the 80s?
It was 82. It's
82?
as old as I am.
I remember seeing it as a teenager, and the reason it stood out was because this was a R-rated cartoon. And we were like, whoa, an R-rated cartoon, and it's like science fiction and fantasy. And
there's probably there's
foul language,
foul
and drug
language,
use,
cartoon
and some
titties, and
cartoon
all, yeah.
tits, and
sex with a robot.
it's not good. But Kim, do you remember about a month ago we watched a half-hour show? I can't remember, it's Metal Durant or something like that, about some guys that were gladiators and they were fighting, and it was really poorly made, and then they spent like 10 minutes sitting around the dinner table.
That one.
That was...
And there were all those fruits and vegetables on the table that were
and
really
I kept
weird.
pointing out how many cabbages were on the table.
There were so many cabbages. Okay, that was really
It
stupid.
was such a bad scene that I started like noticing how many cabbages
we were
on
bored.
the table.
We were bored.
Well, that show
Yes.
that is on Sci-Fi is in fact a remake of Heavy Metal, the movie.
Are you serious?
cartoon.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a
way.
live action remake, and so I think you get an idea of just how bad this movie probably is.
Gosh, you guys.
it's
It's
rough.
a
watch
bad
this.
movie. I think
we
the only
laughed
reason
the whole time.
What is it? What
how
was
bad
it?
it was.
What's it called?
It's a sci-fi show. It's
Sci-fi
a-
original.
Yeah, and it's called like I want to say like Metal Durant or something, and it's like heavy metal. It was based on heavy metal. Anyway,
Do you
I saw this
remember-
show back in the '80s because I was a nerd,
Yeah.
and this looked like it might be right up my alley, and it's not. It's a bad movie.
It's called Weighty Alloys.
I wish it would make more sense. Anyway, yeah, you don't need to watch it.
No, definitely
but-
skip. I'd heard so many things about it, and you know, all these different references that just kind of led me to. It was available. I was like, all right, click. Oh, I really regret this.
I may have to watch it again sometime just to remind
it's
myself.
on.
'cause
It's on
been
Watch Instant.
30 years.
You could probably remind yourself in 10 minutes how bad
That's
it
all
is.
I
But
need.
yeah, but it's there. You can watch it
That's
instant.
all I
And
need.
if you are skimming through, which is pretty much the whole point of this podcast, if you're skimming through and you're trying to decide on something and you're just like, oh, I just don't know, and you see Heavy Metal come by on our recommendation, go ahead and give this one a pass.
Yeah, pass.
Go check out what I was talking about last week. Go check out Let the Fire Burn or something good like that instead.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any news?
News. We do have one news item to get to because we have kind of a special a little bit of a special twist on the show this week. But before we get to that and reveal what we've done, we do have Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. They're going to reveal Dumb and Dumber 2 trailer on The Tonight Show coming up on the 6th, I think this says?
Nope, the 10th.
The 10th.
10th of June.
So the 10th of June, there's going to be a trailer available. So by the time by the time we chat with you again, actually that would have been, when would that have been? That actually would have been yesterday.
Yesterday.
We
so
just
as of
missed
yesterday,
it.
so you should
Just
be able to
missed it. So
see
you
the
should be able
new
to
Dumb
see
and
this.
Dumber
TARDIS.
preview.
That's right. Just hop in your TARDIS and go check it out. But yeah, we got Dumb and Dumber, and it's exactly 20 years later, which is a perfect time to make a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I cannot. As soon as I heard that they got these guys back, I'm like, yes, I am in. I'm watching it. Don't care. I'm there opening night. Absolutely. I have to go see this because I was way too young to see this movie in the theaters when this came out. I was only, we were 12? No, 94. We would have been 14. 12. Yeah, 12.
Yeah.
So not old enough to go see an R-rated movie, but
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Seriously?
But when I was raised the way I was raised,
same here.
I was gonna say, man, I was
extremely
watching
sheltered
Arnold
Tommy,
Schwarzenegger
you're
movies when I was
talking to us.
5.
Shut up. Yeah, so I saw it later too, and it became one of my favorite, and still to this day, is my favorite buddy comedy.
Yeah, I can quote that movie.
Yes,
I can turn it on, not even watch the screen, and know what's. I can see the pictures in my head of what's on the screen, and quote it to this day. And I probably haven't seen it in like 3 or 4 years.
It seems like this sequel has a lot of living up to do.
I think it might.
It's going to be a tough hill to get. I mean, just to compete. Hopefully it'll do it, though. They've had 20 years to come up with some jokes.
I'm excited to see just a little bit of what they're doing. If they're going to maintain that same slapstick style, or if they're going to kind of take a different approach with the same characters. Like, I don't know what
they're up to with it. I honestly don't know what those two could be up to, honestly. Like, I don't know what we could watch them do for 90 minutes. I mean, the first time around... If you write that down on paper and look at it and go, oh, that's what you're going to watch them do for 90 minutes? Boring. And then you watch it and love it. Yeah.
I was way off.
Okay.
So I don't know what they can get them to do.
Extra pair of gloves.
This whole time, I'm going to kill you.
Harry, your ears are freezing.
Harry, you got that little crazy look in your eye. What were you going to say, Liz?
Totally redeem yourself.
So one more bit of news before we move on.
Yeah.
We talked a few weeks ago about what we thought might be the bomb of the summer.
Yeah, we did. That's right. We made like some predictions of what.
And we couldn't figure it out. And I was like, maybe it'll be Edge of Tomorrow. And Thomas was like, no way, that looks awesome. And he's probably right because I'm going to go see Edge of Tomorrow.
Absolutely, it comes out tomorrow.
Same.
Or yesterday.
But
last week.
We finally came to a conclusion that Jupiter Ascending was probably going to be the bomb.
Now, what's this? What is that even about?
The box office
Jupiter
bomb.
Ascending is about this woman who apparently is special and doesn't really say much. And then she dresses up in this pretty white dress with red flowers on it. And then you see Channing Tatum with blonde hair and blonde beard, which is a little unsettling, scoot around all over the place. And then there's some spaceships. And then, apparently she owns Earth. And we didn't know it because she scrubs toilets.
It sounds like
that's Jupiter Ascending.
You haven't
Cinderella.
seen it.
No, it sounds terrible.
That's what the movie's about based on the fucking trailer, and the trailer's shit. And I've already critiqued the trailer based on the lack of motivation and intent and
I thought it looked good.
agency on Mila Kunis's part. You did not. Shut up. Stop
Okay,
lying.
so here's the reason I bring it up, though. The preview has done a terrible job of selling this movie, and I have talked with you guys and said this is going to be the bomb of the summer. It's just going to bomb and make no money. It probably costs $200 million to make. It'll make $10 million.
Ouch.
Apparently, all the audiences have been feeling that way because they have moved the release date back 6 months. It will be released in like January or
Ooh,
February,
in
which
the
is
dead zone.
Yes.
Oh no.
Now, the studio, when they announced that, said that it's because there were so many special effects shots they hadn't gotten finished yet, and they needed 6 more months to work on special effects.
Right.
But we all know
what that actually means.
What was happening was they were just getting their reports back, and they were like, "There's
Nobody
no way
likes
you're
this.
not going to make a movie. No one wants it." Everyone that's watching the previews coming out and saying, and so they're like, we're going to lose our shirts if we don't do something. So they're moving it. They may reshoot some stuff. They're certainly going to try and come out at a time when nothing else is out. You know,
so they don't have to compete.
Because if you come out in the middle of the summer, you're competing.
You're screwed. Yeah.
You have at best a week. Like A Million Ways to Die at the West came out at the same time as Maleficent, and Maleficent made
Maleficent.
How?
Maleficent.
Maleficent?
It made the same time as X-Men, pretty much, right?
But Maleficent made all of the money, and Million Ways to Die didn't make as much.
Million Ways to Die made 8,000, or sorry,
It made $80.
8 million, I think.
15 of which was our dollars.
16. Sorry, it made 16 million.
16, but Maleficent made 70 million.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a problem when you want to be a summer blockbuster.
The brothers should have done is the first Matrix movie. You remember how they kept it mysterious?
Mm-hmm.
The
You're
siblings?
Yeah.
Oh.
I said
I'm sorry.
siblings, sorry.
No, it's
Back
okay.
then they were brothers.
I know.
Um,
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the same thing.
the directors. And to be honest, it makes you wonder though if they showed all the elaborate things that were actually happening in the Matrix, if people would be like, "What's going on?" I don't really. Maybe if they went about it, maybe doing a similar kind of mysterious, and then we're pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
But instead they
don't
tried making
front
out
load
to
it with
be
all
this-
of your shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem for sure with selling the movie. I think the movie's probably got some complex twists and turns that the guys who are marketing it just don't know how to deal with. So they're like, just show Channing Tatum on a space surfboard, I guess.
Fuck it, just put him out there for a few minutes.
I don't know. I see it as just being a really straightforward plot. It makes sense to me. It's like it's.
Yeah.
But it seems too big.
She's the queen of the universe that cleans toilets.
Yay! It's a stupid plot. Okay, let's get on to what really happened.
All right.
So this week, we gathered together, the four of us plus Amy, and we had hot dogs.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
I
Nathan.
didn't.
They were delish. You had a
Kimberly
veggie
did
bird.
not. She had a veggie dog. And then we went down and we watched maybe the greatest movie of all time.
Oof.
Possibly.
Possibly.
A
Could
film
be.
by James Wynn called Birdemic Shock and Terror.
No, there's a colon.
Birdemic : Shock and Terror. So tell us, guys, what'd you think about Birdemic?
Masterpiece.
It was
Nothing short of
It
perfect.
may be a
We
masterpiece.
watched it because we've seen a couple movies that are known for being
terrible.
really
Troll
bad.
2.
Troll 2.
The Room.
The Room.
The Room. Also Sharknado.
Sharknado.
Which doesn't belong
Which
in the
doesn't
company
belong
of
in the
those.
group.
Sleeping Beauty might.
No,
for different reasons.
Not a cult. Weird, low budget.
We
kinda
could watch
thing.
The Room again.
Yeah.
We could watch Troll 2 again.
Yes.
I can't
Yeah.
do some of the others.
I could even
Sharknado.
maybe watch Birdemic, but
But Birdemic, yes.
yeah, so
I could
that's
watch
why,
it over and over.
That's why. No, not
It's so
over and over.
painful.
So this movie's terrible.
You know what? You could probably watch this as so awesome. 16 times. You could probably watch this movie about as often as you could watch Antichrist. Is that safe to say?
No.
So this movie is one of those movies where everything is done poorly.
Wrong.
Yes.
The editing, like every time we cut to character walking down the street, we always come in where you can see the actor is kind of
They
still
tell him
and
to say
he's-
start.
and he's picking up speed,
Yeah.
like he just barely was told to go. We have a ton of scenes of cars
And
driving and
so
parking.
much.
We did discuss
We-
if we took out the walking and the driving, you
And the
probably
parking.
cut.
And the
you cut
conversations
between
that went
30 or 40
nowhere.
minutes.
Yeah.
Easily.
Oh,
Yeah.
the dialogue is meaningless. One of my favorite lines is our main character is a salesman and he's on the phone with the client and he says, "What do I got to do to get this sale?" And then he listens and he goes, okay, done. In fact, I'm going to give you an extra 50% off. And then he hangs up and goes, yeah, woo! And about that much talent.
Yeah.
Woo! And then this other guy comes along and goes, what's all the noise
What's
about?
all the racket?
What's all the racket? And he goes, I just hooked the big fish. And I thought, this movie's brilliant. So you know what this movie does?
$1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sold the thing for
So
$1
he
million.
said $2 million and you said 50% off and then got $1 million. Like,
I guess. But it's that kind of terrible dialogue that's just so bad that you can't help but laugh.
Let's reenact the scene in the corporate office when they just sold the business and they get to sell out their stocks.
Don't forget the.
Every single.
Every person gets their own clap.
Oh, and don't they do a handshake next?
And then they all go around.
Everybody
and
gets a handshake.
All in one scene.
Oh,
and
man.
it just takes. It's ridiculous. But what this movie does that I think is what makes it brilliant is it manages to continuously surprise you with how bad it is. You think you've got it figured out in the first scene. You're like, oh, this movie's bad because they don't know how to do the sound.
They couldn't even
and
get
then
the
next scene you're
camera
like,
in the
oh,
car
this movie's
right.
bad because they don't know how to set the camera.
Yeah.
Then the next thing, oh, they got
Audio.
this bad because they don't know how to do audio.
Oh my god, the audio.
Oh, the dialogue. When somebody starts finally talking, you're like, oh no.
And then at one point.
And then global warming.
Well, no, yeah. At one point, you're like, okay, the writing's bad, dialogue's bad, everything
Sound.
technically is bad. So you're like, maybe the scary aspects of this film.
Yeah, maybe
will make up for
Oh,
it.
you mean the shock and terror that's
Yes,
part of
that
the
didn't happen
birdemic?
until 40 minutes in.
45?
45?
Remember
42
the
maybe?
first time we see
Oh
the
my
shock and
gosh.
terror, the fire alone popping up random places. The
Things that shouldn't be on fire, like things that are green and alive are just on fire and smoking for no reason.
they like copy pasted a moving flame.
Yeah.
So the special effects in this movie
special effects.
are atrocious.
I think they were Windows Movie Maker, I think is what
To the
those
point
were.
to the point of being like you almost can't believe that anyone would ever think that it could
That
pass.
it would work. I mean, that looks like something you would do for a last-minute school project when you're
In junior high.
In junior high.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was about to say, yeah. Because the first time we actually see the special effects, we see the birds that are attacking this birdemic,
is-
and the birds come up to them and they get coat
so
hangers,
slow.
and they stand in front of a van and swing at clearly nothing in front of them because the birds are superimposed in the same shot in a bird formation of threes that are clearly moving at the same.
It's like a GIF, just
Yeah.
repeating
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, basically.
and they're just swatting about 2 minutes nonstop, just hitting at these birds.
Let's not
that-
forget the annoying squawk that repeats itself. Literally, repeat. It's on repeat for like 10
And
minutes.
Bad.
Let's
Well-
not forget that when the birds dive into the gas tank, they make a plane crashing noise. It's so good.
But this is what's so you say we're constantly surprised at the terribleness or the strangeness of it.
Yeah.
Right after this scene where you're like, did they really just do the coat hanger scene? This guy pulls out a freaking automatic
Rifle,
AK and he's like, like in the middle
Misses
of town and shooting at birds,
everything.
and you're like,
Yeah.
where'd that gun come from?
And then they use the same cut of the same bird getting shot and
Yes.
falling.
Every time
Like
a
3
bird-
times in a
one
row.
Yeah.
bird, they only get shot singularly, and then they drop, and they look exactly the same.
And
Oh.
there's also the fact that there is a really great car in the first 5 seconds of the
Mustang.
movie.
Well,
And then there's a really shitty car for the rest of the movie, and we determined that they must have just borrowed or rented that car for
And
like
they
6
made him
drive
drive very carefully.
so
because
he's driving
it's
like
a
fucking
rental.
10 miles an hour. Oh, it's so bad.
He's
They-
seen. Well, we kind of analyzed why we have so many shots of him in the car and driving the car, and he goes to a gas station at one point, and we see him fill up and then go again. And you're like, why did we just see this guy fill up a tank and then leave? And
We had to establish that he was making us, or he was
Yes.
living a certain lifestyle,
Yeah,
and then he
because this
lost
whole
his
show-
keys out of nowhere.
Well,
no, the whole show's about.
yeah, I was
Global
gonna say that
warming.
the important thing, all that aside, they
Yeah.
did have a good message, and I think they
Aw.
presented that message
In the worst
in a
way possible.
I was gonna say pretty
They make you want to.
awesome.
They
way.
make you want to ruin the earth through global.
Yeah,
warming.
it makes you want to
I-
go do what they're
yeah.
fighting.
Yeah.
But just like The Room, I think this is the kind of bad movie you can watch and laugh the whole time.
It was
Oh.
Whereas
honestly
Sharknado, we didn't laugh.
Yeah.
No,
Sharknado, we were
was-
just angry the whole time.
was beyond bad. It was not.
So
Okay.
at a certain point, do you have to be so bad that it's baffling?
No.
It's
It's
the-
about they're trying
Yes.
to do a good
Do it
job.
legitimately.
Yeah,
it's
and
the sincerity.
Like the director
in it.
really wants to.
He thinks
Like-
he made a masterpiece.
He thinks he made a good movie.
yeah.
He thinks he's directed
He thought that
maybe the sexiest sex scene of all time.
Oh, no, the sex.
I'm gonna show Wasu up.
Oh my
This
god.
is gonna be the
Oh,
sexiest
God.
sex scene.
It was so painful to look
So,
at.
what
I
do
wanted
you-
to look
What do you
away.
think? Nice.
It's
no,
fine.
It's fine.
You're fine.
It's
He
fine.
says you're fine.
You look fine.
You look fine.
You
Yeah.
look fine.
As
You look fine.
as he looks her up and down really
Oh,
creepily.
gosh.
The camera just slowly goes up, and in both sex scenes in this movie, the women are wearing bikinis.
Bikinis. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
they're,
clearly
like,
the
top and
actresses
bottom
are like,
underwears.
I'm
Not getting
getting
naked,
naked
sorry.
for you,
or
for this
even wearing
shitty movie."
underwear.
Yeah.
It's like literally
Yeah,
bikinis.
I'm not
for
wearing
the beach.
sexy lingerie. I'm wearing a bikini. So they have sex while wearing a bikini.
And don't forget the
so
lead
good.
actor. His great
Oh,
acting
okay.
aside, his
Oh.
walk.
His walk.
This movie's worth watching just to watch the main actor walk.
His
It is.
walk
His
is,
walk
we,
is
we recognize
weird.
the walk right away, but then there's a scene where he's walking into his workplace, and there's all these extras walking, and they all look normal. They're normal walking, and he looks even worse.
You know what he
It's
sat there
it's
when
a
he's
stick up his butt, and he walks like a stick up
he
his
sat
butt.
there and read the script and he's like, you know what? There's a lot of walking in this movie. I'm gonna set myself apart
Oh, gosh.
by looking
No.
different when I walk.
He's like John Travolta.
He just
He has a
shoved his
different
stick up there
walk
for the whole time.
every character. This character walks like this.
No, my favorite question. About halfway through the movie, Nathan looks at everyone and says, "All right, who's the worst actor between the two? Is it the girl or the guy?" And unanimously, we all were like, "The guy."
The guy is
It was
really bad.
I mean, like, she was bad too, but she was not
She
as
was
bad
trying.
as him.
She was trying,
Yeah.
and it was coming across that like she had
Yeah.
had at least one acting
Right.
class.
Oh, how about the
At least
meeting?
one.
The meeting with the mother.
the mother.
Well, actually, I bought this movie after we watched it, and what I'm gonna do is transcribe the conversation with the mom. I think that might be one of them.
And it's
Into-
got to be when he first meets her too at that diner or
for
restaurant.
sure.
That's got to be.
But I'm
one
gonna
of them.
transcribe
Yeah.
some of these scenes into screenplay format, photocopy them, and give them to my class, and ask them to
Tell me what's wrong.
Identify the errors.
identify what is not, because technically I'll make it so that it's correct, and I'll say, why doesn't this scene work, what could be done to make it a better scene, and so forth. And then when they're convinced that I've just randomly
something
made
up.
up the most bullshit scene ever, I'm
Hit
gonna
play.
show them. I'm gonna hit play and be like,
Check it.
ta-da, this is what it looks like on screen when you write this kind of mundane, bad dialogue nonsense. Yeah, I'm excited. I think
that'll be cool.
The
I
phone
want to hear.
calls- The phone
The
calls. were
phone
pretty
calls
gay.
were great.
it's all good.
You could totally tell that they were talking to each other, like
Yeah.
same lines, everything.
very clearly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I do think you should watch this movie. I think you should watch The Room,
Yep.
Troll 2,
Yep.
and Birdemic.
Yep.
I think you probably can't watch them all in one night.
No,
I would space them out over 6 months.
You
apiece.
might implode if you did that. Actually,
Well, here's another thing. We kind of talk about all the terrible things, but I think the biggest problem that we had was by the time we got to the end, we still didn't know what the birdemic was, what really caused it, why they always grouped around the van that they were in, and then why they went away.
and why was no one else except for that
and
group
why,
affected by
why
it?
was no one else in the world running?
Were they pooping on them
I don't
or
know.
throwing up on them with the acid?
That acid
Oh, the
scene was
acid.
weird.
The
That's
Is it
just one
eggs?
scene. Yeah, this
Just one-
movie's not. It has no coherent,
no
logical.
consistency. No.
So we just have a lot of questions
No con-
about
no conclusion.
everything.
we did come to the conclusion that they liked slitting people's throats in one.
Yes.
Oh, the birds.
Oh,
Yeah.
that Texas guy. There is a sequel to this movie which we did not watch,
but
and
we probably need to.
we probably need to. I suspect the sequel will not hold up because
No.
I'm going to posit that the sequel will be trying to be bad.
Yeah.
And
doesn't work.
it will be more self-aware.
Yeah.
I think the first one works because I really think the guy sincerely thinks he's making a good movie.
Well, the trailer for Birdemic 2 is self-reflexive.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it actually is very
It's
aware
quite
that there was a
self-aware.
Birdemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree
It's not the
with
same
you.
charm.
It's probably not.
I doubt
gonna
it
be
will have the same charm. All right, is that enough about Birdemic?
think
Yeah.
Birdemic. That being said, we should do that again
And
soon because
just
that was a lot of fun.
for
Yeah.
It was fun.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
to be like also as we recommend this, I think that people should have some kind of awareness when it comes to the technical parts of
do this as like as an analysis of
because
movie and
otherwise
screen.
I think that if people don't pay attention to those kinds of things, they're gonna be
You're
bored.
just going to be bored.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a boring movie if you just watch
Yeah.
it as a movie.
Also, I would also say that if you watch it by yourself, you're not going to have as much fun as if you get 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people together
That's
and watch
true.
it together.
And-
as with all of these crappy
And
ones.
you should probably
have
all
fun.
be lit up a little
Yeah,
bit.
maybe do a little drinking and a little barbecuing or something.
Yeah.
Just do something to loosen the mood up a little bit. I think you'll have a good time. Make it a group activity. I think you'll have fun like we did.
And if you've never really noticed things like what is editing or what is sound, design and so forth, if you don't know what is a soundtrack and why does it matter, I think Birdemic does such a good job of showing why all
of
those
those
technical
things.
things that you normally
That's true.
ignore,
Because
you
they're
can't ignore
seamless
'em.
and they help you watch the movie.
Right.
They don't interfere with the
Yes.
movie.
And in
Yeah.
this movie, they interfere constantly. And so I think, if nothing else, it'll give you an appreciation for just how professional most films are.
Even crappier ones like Sharknado and the ones we
The
hate.
Room.
Sharknado's a piece of shit.
The Room.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like the technical stuff you're talking
No,
about.
No.
they purposefully fuck things up, but
Oh,
not
did
in
they really?
Not in
I-
a cute
I
way.
guess-
Like the editing in Sharknado's.
I guess
Well,
I guess
and
I wasn't
they
paying
didn't
attention
like
to
it
that.
because they made it bad on purpose. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Of what makes it a
Right.
bad
Yeah,
movie.
but they had no consistency. Every single other shot, you'd go back and forth between characters, and there'd be a storm in one side and sunny skies in the other, and it just was like, what the fuck? Why?
But I felt
How
like
am
they
I
were
supposed
doing
to
that
believe
just
it?
to be like, look how silly we are. This
No,
movie's bad.
It was
Yeah,
really-
Sharknado's not
It was
good.
beyond bad.
Birdemic
They weren't even
is good.
trying.
Okay, let's talk about our homework.
Yeah.
Nathan, you assigned.
I assigned a movie that looked promising called Bunraku. And I was duped by I'll say the word duped right off the bat. I was duped by a cool image for the graphic of it, and the description sounded like pretty much a lot of the other things we've been watching recently. And the cast, some of the people in the cast, I was like, yeah, cool, I could get down with these people. And I was 20 minutes into it and shouting at my television screen saying, what the fuck is this? What is this? I don't even know what this is. So the more I got to analyzing it, I'm convinced if this isn't because I didn't do any research, obviously. I could have easily just typed it in and found out if it was based off of a graphic novel or something. But
It felt like
it
must
might be.
but I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. What I think happened, and I can figure this out while you guys are talking. I'll find out for sure what's going on when you guys take your turn to talk about it. But what it felt like to me, because this came out probably within 4 years of Sin City or so. I feel like somebody went and studied Sin City a lot, and they're like, we could make something similar to that, but all in color and really cool pastels and really, not obscene, just really absurd, kind of almost like absurdist, like cinematography, and make it like a cartoon came to life almost.
Okay.
And I feel like somebody studied Sin City a lot and then tried to pull off their own version of it and just failed miserably. Where Sin City succeeded in every single category, this movie fucking failed. This movie was so bad. I was bored. I did not give a shit about a single character. By the time I gave up on it, which was 20 minutes in, I had already counted like 6 missed opportunities that the story could have gone and didn't. They missed the opportunity. They could have focused on those 10 killers that whole time and had an awesome story. And we saw 10 minutes of the 10 killers, maybe 8. minutes
Yeah.
of the 10 killers. Some
That's
of them
true.
were just
They did seem underused.
some of them were just completely wasted and could have just been named. Thomas pointed this out. He's like, some of those could have just been named Henchman Number 2.
Yeah.
Like they were just useless until that final battle scene or whatever. It was basically, I would call this movie, I would rename this movie Missed Opportunity, I think is what this should be called. The director, writer, whoever put this shit together, definitely chose style over substance the entire way through. It was awful. It was god awful. What did you guys think
What
of
do
it?
you think, Tommy?
Yeah. The first scene, like the opening, it kind of piqued my interest, to be honest, as far as even the
Same
opening.
here. I was in for like 20 minutes, then I was
despite
out.
the lisp narrator.
Mike Patton.
Yeah.
Mike Patton.
Mike Patton.
My favorite singer in the world was the narrator.
In any case,
He didn't do a great job.
And then I saw the opening scene, like where there's the fight breaks out between the two groups of people.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous looking. And then I saw the gentleman with the cane, and I was like, okay, he's interesting.
Number 2.
And then the killer number 2, which I have to say he's the most entertaining character.
He was
Which-
he was
interesting.
the
I
main
thought so.
villain guy because the other guy wasn't really number 1.
He was just
In
yeah.
any case,
He's a false number 1.
No, it's
and
just
then they start the fight, and to be honest, at first I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. It's very theatrical. I
Yes,
felt like the
yeah.
stage,
Yeah.
the way they're like so dramatic.
Yes.
The way the guy's fighting, his face, his cane, and it was actually the fighting wasn't half bad when the gentleman with the cane's fighting. Like it was entertaining to me, and it was like I said, it almost looked like I was watching a play almost.
Mm-hmm.
And but then 5 minutes later, it kind of revealed its true colors. I was hoping for almost a theatrical, like I'm in a theater almost, because most all the environments set up. I mean, you've got. It almost looks like they're filming in a giant tent, for God's sake.
Right,
The
right.
skyboxes
Yeah,
are all
yeah,
colored
kinda
weird.
did.
The textures are all strange. And to be honest, it doesn't work. But I had kind of high hopes. But then as they introduced more and more characters, it doesn't take long for you to realize that everyone's stale and they keep on kind of doing the exact same thing over and over again, and it just never worked to begin with. It's wasted talent. They've got all these amazing actors, and they don't use them at all.
So here's from the IMDb page. This will help us a little bit. Bunranku this is the definition of what it means. It is it's a martial arts film, blah, blah, blah. It was a story by Boaz Davidson. The title Bunraku is derived from a 400-year-old form of Japanese puppet theater, a style of storytelling that uses 4-foot-tall puppets with the highly detailed heads, each operated by several puppeteers who blend into the background wearing black robes and hoods, which we saw in the first 5 minutes
In the
of
credits,
the show. Yeah.
right? In the opening credits, we saw that. Okay, so that's a style of theater.
Yeah.
It did have that theater style to it, and it was consistent throughout. It maybe could have been
Consistently bad.
Well, I thought the style was
No,
actually okay. I agree, though, that for me, ultimately, the film left me feeling kind of hollow.
Yeah.
For 2 hours
And
it's
10
a
minutes.
solid
It's-
2 hours
yeah.
and 10 minutes. I thought, I should care more at some point.
About any one of these characters. I didn't give
Yeah.
a shit about one single person.
How bland was the writing? Like I don't think there was at any point where I was like,
Yeah.
this is clever or this is interesting. I honestly, everything that came out of every character's mouth was a line, and that's all it was.
There was a clever part when the one red coat guy called up number 2, and number 2's up in the mountains
Oh
on his
my
phone.
god, that was
And then-
that was cool.
great.
That was
And
really
then-
cool.
I'm sorry.
They staged
said-
it so it felt like they were on stage, and we could see
There
him
was a
talking.
scrim
There's a
between
scrim
them.
between them, and at one point he makes eye contact with them.
Yeah.
Started
and we
talking to him.
and I thought that's really cool, but that's all style.
Yes.
Like Nathan says,
That's-
it's not substance of what they're saying.
Yeah, I didn't give a shit about what they're saying. I was like, that's cool looking what they're doing there.
Yeah, and
I see what you did.
Did you like that?
That was cool too. Yeah.
But you're right.
I'm sorry,
They
just
made
jumped
some.
in
I have to actually hand it to Nathan. I think he, for me, when he said this was style over substance, I think he kind of nails it.
Yeah,
I think
it really was.
I think you should maybe review movies or something because you really nailed it there. I thought Ron Perlman's character was
Did not give a
generally
shit about
boring.
him, yeah.
And
By the way, can I just point out you cannot straight razor your face with a fucking hatchet? Just wanted to point that
You
out.
can if you're on Perlman.
Okay, just wanted to point that out.
Why can't you?
There's
Yeah,
no
just 'cause you can't.
possible way you
It's called shaving cream.
What if it's sharp?
it's not thin enough. It's too. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't do that.
I
Did you
did
see
it
how
once.
thick his beard was?
Yeah, he had a thick beard. He just
Speaking
that's
of the-
what I
off
mean,
those
yeah.
No,
hairs.
there's the Ron Perlman character. Okay, so I know I haven't said a word. I piped in to say my favorite things.
Good.
Okay, so style over substance, accurate. I liked it though. I have
Really?
to say, I loved the style so much that I kind of didn't care what was going on. And I know that
Yeah,
that's
that's valid.
hard to say is okay because I personally thought Sin City was a piece of shit, and so like I gave that like a 0 because I didn't like the style. So I think the style is not similar, but it's similarly strange
Yeah.
and consistent in the film.
It's very visually
And
striking for sure.
I'm a theater person, done theater forever, and I loved the theatricality of it. I loved that it would look like it was on a stage. I loved the opening scene where they were fighting, and then the guy started dancing with him. That's cool to me. I really like that. Like I got into.
I thought
it.
that whole
Well,
entire opening
so
sequence was
I-
really
There were just
interesting.
these
I was
touches that
yeah.
I'm
I was
like,
in,
oh.
yeah, I was in at that
So
point,
good.
and then it just went downhill.
Well,
where
he
I was
was-
like,
So
I felt like the killer too was the only guy that had really much personality, to be honest.
Sure.
did.
I think there were definitely missed opportunities story-wise. I think that we didn't have enough time for the climax scene where they go up to the mountain and it took, what was it, 12 minutes at the end to kill 1 and 2?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
it was very
really
rushed. Yeah.
But to say rushed in a 2-hour and 10-minute movie means that you were not
You
doing
waited.
things properly.
Yeah, you waited
so
too
I
long.
agree with all of your critiques, but at the end of the day, I had a really good time watching it, and for style, I just thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
love
you're
the
not-
set. No, I love the set. and
You're
I
not
love-
really gonna see. I mean, Sin City included. You're really not gonna see anything that's similar to this as far as the visuals of this movie.
I've never seen, and it's really great to get the background of what this is with the Japanese puppetry. And the
makes
theater
a little
background.
more sense now.
It does.
The background felt cheap to me. I don't know.
But that's
Some of-
what it
yeah.
was supposed to be. Like it wasn't supposed to be real. There was nothing realistic about this.
I guess, but and then to me, and I didn't like it. I think they could have meshed the genres better. As far as they're obviously doing kind of a
Samurai
Western
versus Western.
samurai,
yeah.
and it didn't pan out. Because then you almost have a Viking-esque axe wielding warrior. Then you have a early 1800s
gangster.
Yeah, 20s, and I just to me it didn't clash very
That
well.
that main actor, the main samurai guy, I just looked him up. His name's Gact. He's actually not a martial artist at all. He's actually the frontman of a band that's been around since 1994.
He doesn't come across as a martial artist when you're watching it.
Not really.
Actually, that was one of my bigger critiques. Is I thought that the fight scenes were poorly choreographed.
Very.
I found them. You could tell that they were wanting to do those really cool fight scenes, but they just weren't quite getting there.
I think because
Like-
their lead guy
like-
wasn't a martial artist for one.
I still think that number 2 is the funnest one to watch when he was
Yeah.
fighting. The way he twirled his,
Yeah,
it was
all
so
of it was
it was
cool.
so dramatic, and he's so unpredictable. He had his little scarf, and the way he always rubbed the stick with the scarf.
Everything he did was cool.
Just-
It
That's
drove
so
me
dumb.
so nuts.
Yeah, the rolling of the revolver.
Every
the-
time
his
he-
hat.
every time.
Yeah.
You know what?
At least
though?
6 times.
So I
Yeah,
gave
at
it 3
least.
out of 5. I gave it
I gave
3
it a 2.
because, and I could see 2. I
Yeah.
think the story is at best a 2.
Yeah.
The dialogue's a 2. I thought the
style is like a 5.
style's
honestly.
a 4.
Yeah.
And so for me, that kind of balanced out.
I couldn't give it a 2.5, so I gave it a 2.
If you didn't
Sure.
like the style, like you didn't like the style in Sin City, Kimberly, if you didn't care for the style, then there's no way you can.
yeah.
'Cause
No,
that's
I
the
agree.
thing.
If there's no way you can like it because there's nothing else there. There's nothing else to give you. And I guess I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to recommend it, but
If you want to see something that you're not going to see ever again, watch this movie.
I didn't expect to get that. And when I got that, I was so happily surprised.
Well, if you watch the first 15 minutes of it and you look at the environment and you're like, okay, that's neat, that's cool, I can appreciate that, then maybe it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, the set is
I could recommend
ultra modern.
I could recommend you watch the first 40 minutes of this movie, and then you'll be good enough. It'll be good enough. You'll have enough of what we're talking about. You'll get the visuals. And,
I agree
and
with Thomas though. If in the first 10 to 15 minutes you're not impressed, if you don't see the kind of humor and theatrical, if that's not interesting to you, you're going to be bored with.
How
the
about
next
that wasabi?
Hour and a half.
Oh my god. That made me hurt. I was like,
yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah,
not the best movie. I was expecting something completely
not the best,
different.
but it's like this weird thing for
it
me.
Is
like
unique.
this one's probably been the hardest for me to actually rate.
Yeah, it's
like
tough.
To give this one a star rating is just hard because I think I just liked it generally just a little bit more than you guys, but I still think all of your critiques are totally valid.
I was Demi Moore cracking nuts when the guy could do it with his bare hands.
That was weird. Yeah, they needed her to be doing something.
That
I
was
guess.
terrible.
She sucked.
That was not a good part. And
Who sucked?
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore.
Oh, surprise!
But it was the writing too. I mean, it's the characters. All the characters had some problems.
Yeah.
The characters did have some problems. They needed to be a little better fleshed out.
I liked Woody Harrelson
serving drinks and saying, "Hey, I'm so standoffish and cool. Check it,
guys.
Hey, check out my pop-up books. I make them for fun."
Did you
They
like
have a
when
philosophical point at the end. Isn't that great?
true, yeah.
we should be better.
Did you like when he explained Spider-Man?
Oh God, yeah. That was like,
Yeah.
I did an eye roll. I'll be honest.
Okay.
We looked over like Spider-Man.
Well, Thomas, it's your turn now
Oh, yeah.
to assign homework for all of us. Do you know what you're doing?
Maybe. Let's see here. Yes. I know what I'm doing.
What are you gonna assign?
Paranoia.
Paranoia, the 1920
Silent film?
Silent
Yes,
film.
exactly. It's on Netflix.
No, what is the movie we're watching?
It's 2013, I believe.
Oh, 2013.
Harrison Ford, your favorite actor, Lewis. Gary Oldman, though. Good actor.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
And baby Thor is in this. Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Aw.
It is, from what it looks like on the preview, it's a corporate kind of espionage, conspiracy theory-esque.
Ooh.
And so, I don't know. We've been...
Looks like a...
What's the matter, Liam Hemsworth? You feeling some
and
Looks like-
paranoia?
Gary Oldman's obviously going to have some strange accent, right?
I'm so
Oh,
excited.
Jesus.
He's going to recreate himself.
Here's the deal.
He's going to have a cape.
I never really notice ratings. I just don't even give a shit about... I don't even care. I'll just watch anything.
Even if
But I
it's
just saw that
RPG.
that's PG-13, which makes me...
Concerned.
jeez.
Just a smidge. That's the only rating that I get really weird about.
They can put in an F-bomb
PG-13's the
still.
worst.
It is the worst, honestly.
Like, it's
What it
like
means
we want
is-
to pander to like older children that are almost adults, but we don't want to make it hard R where you gotta like cut back on all the fucks and the boobs and stuff.
But
This
look,
is
though,
a
if
this
it's-
is a
They want-
political thriller or
It is.
whatever.
It is.
Meant for 40-year-olds, and then they cast Liam Hemsworth, and they're like, "Oh wow, we can get 15-year-old girls to go see this. Cut out all the swears and interesting stuff."
Yeah, that's,
cut out all the substance.
Yeah.
But in a corporate, I mean, do we maybe
I'm gonna
you could
watch
give
this.
you could
I'm
give
gonna watch
us
the shit out of it.
You watch the fuck out of this.
couldn't you give a
It's gonna
film
rock.
credit if it was an excellent film, but they didn't need to use the swears or boobs?
Sure. If it doesn't,
It's harder.
That's
If it doesn't support the
Yeah.
story,
That's a
don't add them
critique.
gratuitously.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than like in Hansel and Gretel or whatever when they add a fuck that doesn't belong there just because they get one fuck. Oh, I
Liz,
hate
didn't you
it.
give that 3.5 stars?
No, Hansel and Gretel. I think I gave
like
5,
negative.
just solid 5 out of 5.
Negative.
Golden
good.
stars across the board.
Golden stars. Can I give 6 to Hansel and Gretel?
I'd give it a trophy if I could.
Hansel? Yeah, that movie's bad. Okay, I'm excited. So we're gonna watch
Which
Paranoia 2013 starring Harrison Ford and
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman and Baby
Thor Jr.
Baby Thor.
Baby Hemsworth.
Okay, from the Hunger Games. He plays
Yeah.
Gale.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
Gale.
that was Hemsworth.
You
Yeah.
liked Hunger Games too.
He plays Gale. Until then.
Oh my
What?
god.
What am I saying?
Oh, until then.
All right, whatever.
We're done.
We're done with
Such
this show.
confidence.
Okay, guys.
YouTube.
Thank you so much for
Facebook.
tuning in to yet another episode of Hanging from the Balcony. You can find us on Twitter at
Twitter.
HF. No, what is it?
TSP
TSP underscore
You were
one.
so close.
I'm at Nathan L. Betts on the Twitters.
Nathan Albets at the Twitters. You can also find us on Facebook at Hanging from the Balcony.
Give us some
at
likes.
Time Spent Poorly.
Like
Yeah,
You
us.
can find
Like
us
us
on
on Facebook.
YouTube
Yep.
at Time Spent Poorly.
Yes.
Please give us some fingers up.
Stitcher. Find us on Stitcher Smart Radio app and like us on there too.
Ooh,
if
How do we
that's
do
a
that?
thing.
Time
if
Spent
you-
Poorly.
Yes, go to Stitcher and search for Time Spent Poorly, and that's the way you can listen to us right on your phone or mobile device.
And also listen to us as a podcast. You don't have to watch us.
yeah, you don't have to watch us. You can
We're not
just listen.
doing anything.
Also, we've got other shows on this.
sitting here.
It's true. The only reason to watch it is if we watch a trailer, which we didn't this time. But
yeah.
there's other podcasts on this network. I have a podcast, and my new permanent co-host is Derek Yon for the Time Spent Poorly podcast.
How long is that going to last?
That's going to last until he moves away or he gets bored with me, one of the two.
Permanent.
Yeah, permanent
Those
for the
things-
next 2 months.
Those things will never happen.
There's also The Cake is a Lie. We've got other great shows coming up. The Carlton Brothers are going to be coming back here in the next month or two. They started and then got some scheduling conflicts, but they'll be back for some more stuff. So just go to Time Spent Poorly. There's a lot of different things that we're offering you there to waste your time.
Absolutely. Check them out. But we know in your heart you're really into movies, and more movies. So check us out next week. We'll be back. Time Spent Poorly. We're going to talk about paranoia and whatever the hell comes out in the meantime. So thank you once again. And until we next meet, have a wonderful movie night.
Nailed it.
Man, you should be great.